Hey, I want to welcome you to today's devotion. Today we have a special devotion, not only for you, but for someone else too. So today we're going to be talking about mentoring younger leaders. So let's go right now, straight to the devotion. One of the things that I've learned during the past 50 years of following Jesus and just trying to share Him with others is that every generation needs to have a fresh touch from God. You see, God has many children, but He does not have one single grandchild. Every one of us must be a child of God. We must have our own relationship with the Lord. And then out of that relationship, we share Christ with others and new generations. Every generation that comes along needs to see God move and work in a mighty way. Now, Moses learned this in a tremendous way, and Moses is a great example of God using a man to pass on and pass the baton to another generation. He passed the baton to Joshua. If you remember, Moses was a servant of the Lord. He would meet with God, and we find over in the book of Exodus that he would go into the tent of the meeting, a place where he would meet with the Lord and the Lord would meet with him, and then revival would spread throughout the camp and the people would all worship God. But there's something very interesting in that passage in Exodus. The Bible says that when Moses would go there and pray, that young Joshua was alongside him in that tent. And when Moses left, Joshua stayed. And you see, later on, Joshua became the leader of the children of Israel. And it's very interesting because Moses sent Joshua out into battle against the Amalekites. And when he did, Moses went up on the hill and guys would hold up his arms. And as long as his arms were held up, they would win the battle. But this is what happened. I want you to see the pattern here. And I really think this is the pattern that God has for every one of us to mentor younger leaders, a new generation who will share the gospel of Jesus Christ. First of all, we find that Moses did the work of God. He went out, he led the children out of Israel. I mean, he was God's man. And he not only did the work of God, but then we find that Joshua was with him. So he did the work of God with Joshua with him. And then there was a third thing that happened, was he sent Joshua out to do the work of God, but then Moses was nearby, but it was Joshua who did that work. And then there was a final thing, and that was after Moses was gone, Joshua did the work of God. That's the way you mentor a younger generation. And we find that that's what Moses did. Moses did the work of God. He did the work of God with young Joshua. Then he let Joshua do the work of God and he stood nearby. And then Joshua took and led the children of Israel. That is mentoring a new generation. So I hope that every one of us, and you, me, all of us, we need two things. One, we need someone mentoring us. And secondly, we need to mentor others. So let's mentor a new generation.